in this project, we're going to look at rollovers for desktop and mobile using jQuery. And then we'll do the same thing with plain JavaScript afterwards. For the rollover view, what's going to happen is you're going to roll over the picture with your mouse or tap it with your finger and get the little window that pops up here to pop up. We can do this with the hover pseudo class in CSS, and that's just fine for the desktop, but it doesn't really work well for mobile at all because we don't have any hovering in mobile. But we can fix this interaction with a little bit of jQuery. First thing to do, I think, is really to go look at this file as it exists now. So here you'll notice I have the CSS in, so when you hover over this thing it gets bigger like that. But the info bubble is sort of positioned up here, so it's showing all the time. It's also important to point out that the info bubble has some links inside it that we're going to need to be able to get to. So, because that's going to sort of complicate things a little bit. So let's see what we need to do with this. First thing we need to do is understand the markup a little bit in terms of how this thing is actually working. So for each person, right now there's just one, but we're going to add a couple more. For each, we've got a person that's in a list item here. And this list item contains a span that includes the image and the info bubble. And we need this extra span element here as a container for both of these elements so that I can hover over this one but still access that one. So, so I need that extra span for that. It's a little bit confusing, but that's the way that works. We can see it over here in the actual code here. And then the actual info bubble has this pointer here. This is just an empty div creating it's rotated so it creates a little triangle at the bottom. This triangle down here. That's creating that triangle there. So we've got that in there, and then I've got the div with the team member info and the links to their stuff. So that's what's inside the info bubble here. Okay, great. So we have that. Let's see what we need to do next. On the style sheet, there's a class for the info bubble rule that is displaying it the way it is now. So I want to delete this or just comment it out or whatever so that we can see what it's going to look like without the info bubble showing. So over here in the CSS, on my styles, I'm going to go find that info bubble rule. I think it's this one right here. And I want to either comment it out or delete it. There we go. So that's commented out. And now if I come back and see my page, you'll see the info bubble is actually there. And now I'm going to update the other, I'm going to include the other two rules. So these two rules I'm going to put back in instead. That one and that one. And then go back and refresh, and you'll see that hides the info bubble. And if I roll over this, you'll see it comes up. So that's all just being done with pure CSS. There's no JavaScript here at all. But the problem is the way hover works. So let's get into that just a little bit here. Okay, so we're using the hover pseudo class so that when I hover over a list item that has this, when I have dot selected hover for that info bubble, I'm going to change its position and I'm going to do a little bit of animation for when it changes its position. And then this is just positioning the info bubble initially. But the hover is going to come into play and change these positions based with an animation here based on those settings there. So that's what's going on here. Is that, and I'm using hover with my mouse. So that's great. That's cool. That's all working. Let's add two more people to this. I have over here some snippets with two more people. So you can actually just copy these two list items right from the assignment page here. Copy there and come over to the code over here to the index file. And inside this unordered list here, we've got one list item. I'm just going to paste in 2 more right there. So those get pasted into that list item there. And I think that that's right. It's not tabbed right, but that's okay. Save that. That fixed it. Just saving it fixed it. Okay, great. So, so now I've got 2 more people in here. And if I come over and refresh, now I've got these 3 people here. I can hover over this one and get that info bubble, or I can come down to this guy and get his, or I come down to her and get hers. Okay, great. So that's all working just fine. But if you point your phone, the phone camera on your phone to this QR code, you should get a little notification that allows you to pull exactly this version of this page up on your phone. And you'll see it doesn't work right. You try to go to it, see what it does. You can also just type in the address. It's here. And just go to that address on your phone and see what it does. And you'll see it doesn't work right. And in the next video, we'll talk about why this isn't working properly on mobile.